one of the problems we run into in this sport, and everybody does sooner or later, you might get over your emotional side at the beginning, right? So at some point you're not as scared. And then later on it comes up again because you're on a demo, because you're doing something that's more of a challenge. But this is a constant. And you might find yourself relaxing into complacency because you feel safe because, oh, it's just a skydive. I know how to do that. It's no big deal. And then something surprises you and causes you to have some pucker factor. And you now are back to sort of student status mentally. And so a big part of that is learning how to calm our bodies down. I think of it as like I'm the rider and my body is the horse. And the horse once in a while has his ears goes back and it gets all angsty and doesn't follow orders very effectively. And so part of our job is to soothe our bodies, for sure. Part of our job is to keep thinking positively in terms of what do I want to do? What's the solution? You can marry yourself to the problem, or you can fixate on the solution and make it work, right? And you will find new solutions in the moment if you keep yourself calm, things that you weren't taught how to do, how to solve different things. I have malfunctions all the time where I look up and go, oh, I didn't know that could happen. And I just stay calm and I sort it through, and I kind of, sometimes I even keep kind of talking to myself out loud and just figure out what the problem is. And yes, sometimes the solutions are right here. Cutting away, dumping your reserve is part of being a skydiver. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you can pull high enough, you can solve those problems. If you can pull high enough, you can get used to your parachute more. And then when you're in weird situations, you can solve those problems. Like I'm coming in for a landing and oh my gosh, I'm going to overshoot into the fence. But you've got the skill to avoid it. So our fear is also softened by the skills that we build, isn't it? Right? Of course, people have a tendency to either over-emphasize or over-trust their skills, or under-emphasize and over-trust their skills. So trying to find a real balance between those two and recognizing where you actually are and what you're capable of at this stage of development. Right? It's not who you are, but it is your status, if that makes sense. So given that, I feel that fear is the polar opposite of a different set of emotions, right? A feeling of love and empowerment is, to me, the opposite. And if you love flying a parachute, if you're enjoying yourself, even when it's sketchy, even if you're coming in for a landing after a C-130 load and there's canopies everywhere, you keep breathing, oh, that's a lot of parachutes. And you're converting that angst, that nervousness into a joyful state. And you just think, well, okay, just fly the parachute to the spaces between things. I know how to do this. Parachutes aren't that complicated. I got this. And maybe that's what you got to say to yourself. I got this. But I think a big part of dealing with our fear of canopy flight in particular, the dangerous part of the sport really, is to really allow yourself the time and the investment in terms of your education to fall in love with your canopy. And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't love my parachute. It's old, it's no good, it's an old design or something, or it's too big for me. You can blame your parachute all you want, but you're the one flying it. And pretty much every parachute in the air has the capability of flying brilliantly, right? And you think if somebody who's an ultimate badass under canopy borrowed your rig, what could they make it do, right? I would say it's like taking your girl to a dance class and you're learning how to dance, some fancy new moves. And you're like, you're the stiff one that's like trying to get it and you keep stepping on her toes. And then the dance instructor comes out and he dances with your girl. And you're like, damn, I didn't know she could do that, right? So I'm the limitation, do you understand? So this is my point, is that if you fall in love with your parachute and you start to seek out things that it can do that you haven't been doing with it, you're going to discover that canopy is wonderful, that it's capable of doing all kinds of great things. And so the last thought on that line is that love doesn't just counter the fear, it also counters risk. Because when we're invested in our sense of power and we're looking for answers and we're expecting answers, we're softening the risk. And if you take that to the next level, the interactive experience of people on the drop zone, love counters risk, because if you're in communication with your friends And they're telling you, hey, by the way, I watched your last approach and that was a little sketchy and I care about you. So I just want to say, maybe you should turn a little higher, or maybe you should pull a little higher, or whatever. I heard this from somebody, or maybe you simply get them to a coach and you have some sort of a meeting. That's a form of love. And that's what keeps us alive out there, is each other being a mirror, a truthful mirror to what we're really doing. And that also requires us to all be gentle with each other and provide the ideas and advice in a way that doesn't flare up their ego and make them feel insecure, because the truth is you don't want them to be insecure, right? Scared people are very dangerous to be in the sky with. You want to nurture their sense of power, their confidence. And yes, some of them you have to sit down and say, your confidence is taking you too far. You got to back it down a little bit. Show me that you can land on the target, for instance, and beautifully before you start hook turning. Show me that you can do that. And I'm saying this because I care, because I want you to be okay, because you're part of my family. And if we approach every interaction on the drop zone that way, instead of the yelling at people and trying to bark them back into complacency and doing what they're told, the problem is that then people don't think for themselves, right? And all of them are pilots. All of them are in the left seat of their own aircraft. And they're all up there flying their parachute with you and possibly into you. And so your job is to nurture their sense of power under canopy, that they have access to information that they don't even know that they don't have, right? And so that's about nurturing an environment where people do ask questions. I think that's the secret, because we don't know everything. None of us will ever know everything. And so the only way we're going to know more is to create an environment where all of us are passionate about learning more, not fixated on sounding like we know more, right? That's an ego trip, but just to be hungry for it and humble. That's the secret as far as I can tell.
As long as you're having fun, well, do whatever